Three. Here we go. What's up?
Hi, good
How's
morning.
it going? Good morning. Look, everybody, it is Fatima again, round two.
Yeah, and Mr.
Excited to chat with you today because I know you're always filled with really good wisdom and good information, especially when it comes to the real estate side. So here we are, almost done with the first month of 2020.
Why so
Can
fast?
it go any faster?
It's like a blink.
Let's let's go faster. This is like a Japanese bullet train. Well,
Exactly.
cool. So today I wanted to chat with you a little bit about if you own a home right now, how do you best prepare if you're looking to buy or sell your existing home to buy a new primary residence? So you're looking to move into a new house, but you own an existing home. What are your hacks and recommendations for a person in that situation?
For sure. This has been a question like the past few months by several people. And just recently did one recently this month. So the planning phase is you have to get first your value of your current property to
Mm.
see how much it would be to sell it. And basically, we would just we would look at how much you owe versus how much the selling cost would be, and then how much
Yeah.
you net. And then that net would basically be your down payment if you needed to sell. Um,
Right. Now, how do you go about getting a value on your current property?
yeah, so basically what we would do is I can give you I could give, so if someone says I have a house and they want to get an estimate, then I'm happy to do that, no problem. I mean, there's no cost to that. A lot of it is just analysis. Each
Okay.
if I were to do that now, it could be different. If you're not ready, I could give that number will be different now versus maybe 3 months from now versus 6 months from now.
Of course. Of course. Yeah, that makes sense. And right now, it's relatively slow because it's still January. Let's be honest. People don't start kicking things into high gear until about first week of February, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. So, what would you recommend as far as now? What would they do to look for property value? Should they start getting the home prepared for a greater value now, or should they just wait? What would you suggest?
Okay, so there's a lot of planning involved. So if
Yeah,
someone says they want to move, they would just tell me what their timeline is. So if the timeline is in 2 months or 3 months, um, basically I would always say let's meet right away and
mm,
figure out what we need to do to get the house prepped and sold at its highest possible value if the selling
yeah,
selling is needed. Sometimes people don't necessarily need to sell. Sometimes they would just want to maybe refinance, get some cash out, maybe leverage their properties. But I always say also too, part of getting once getting the valuation, it's important to also get pre-approved, because getting pre-approved also shows, okay, here's all our finances. Basically they would go, let's say with you, right? You would tell me, hey, based on their income and their whole profile now, this is what they could qualify for, given the fact that they have this much down payment.
yeah. And the way we would do it is that we would do it as if the house is already sold and pretending as if the money from the sale of that house is already into your account. That's how we do that pre-approval, right? So we're going to rely on those funds as if they're already here because typically when you don't own a property and you're going to buy, you already have the funds, right? So that's the assumption there. Now, let's just say that it's going to take a little bit to sell your house because you need to either stage it, you got to clean it up and paint it, that sort of thing. And we cannot close your new property with the sale of the old one, then we would look at alternative financing, such as what you've probably heard as a bridge loan. A bridge loan is just a loan that is given on your existing property. We take out some of that equity to put as a down payment to give the old property enough time to sell. Now, typically, you don't make payments on that loan. The lender gets paid when your existing property gets sold.
Got you.
Cool.
So
So
there's
what would you do? Where does staging come into this? You hear this whole term of staging and stages. How does that work?
So I could just so basically, I'll just give you an example. Yesterday, I had a meeting with a client. We met about a few months ago because they wanted to put the house on the market March, April, and so we did an initial consultation before the holidays. We met
Yeah.
and we went over the punch list of what we're going to do, clearing out the house. In order to have it show ready, we have to clear out the house, get it painted, get some inspections, get, anything that there's a punch line, punch list of things that need to be done. We like to get that taken care of prior.
So it sounds like you actually put a strategy together, and out of that strategy, you actually create what's called a punch list, which is it a to-do list? Is that what it is?
To-do list for sure.
Okay.
In order, if it's an option for the sellers to be able to put all their belongings in storage, get it partially staged, so half with their furniture, half with staging. And the goal is for me is to give them the highest possible value that they can
Correct.
get the maximum return to make their next move.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So if staging is needed, then it's going to be on the punch list, and you stage it. Now, typically staging is done to just kind of refresh the property, right, and also to declutter it, and also to depersonalize it. Talk about that when you're selling an existing home. Why do we depersonalize it? Meaning take all of our personal pictures and everything out of the house.
It's important just to get someone wants to be able to see themselves in the property, so
Not you in it, but themselves, right?
they want to feel that it's a neutral space for someone, so they can
Totally.
see myself in here. But if they see pictures on the wall, it doesn't really feel like something that they can really envision for their own. So basically, just to say, for example, what I'm going to do for these clients, I have a new listing coming up in April. You'll see that later.
Awesome.
The step is they're going to declutter their house, remove everything, simplify as much as possible the home, and then we're going to get it painted. And then
Mhm.
once it's painted, we will either look at look at light fixtures. There's certain things that you can do to make a room, and it doesn't have to
Make it pop, as we say.
light fixtures, paint, and then good staging. Good staging is important. You don't want it to look like grandma's home, right? Like you want it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with grandma's home, but if you want something to be appealing and modern and sexy, you have to have good staging. So maybe it might cost a little extra, but maybe a couple extra $1,000 additional. Let's say it's good staging could be between like $4,000 to $7,000, depending on the type of house. It could be more, it could be less, depending on how big the home is.
Yeah. And where does that money come from? Who pays for that up front?
So yeah, so basically the seller would take care of that, but we would
Okay.
figure out a way. I mean, sometimes if funds are short on the seller's end, there's ways I can work with the seller to
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
pay for the cost up front and then just get reimbursed. Uh,
Oh, okay. So then you, at times, depending on the situation, could front the money and then just get paid out of closing once the house sells. That makes sense. And by the way, just to clarify further on the staging part, the whole reason is not to say that your furniture is bad or anything like that. It's just sometimes, maybe your furniture is not what the market is asking for right now. Because, as time goes by, people have different preferences. Sometimes, you get modernism and declutter comes into place. And then other times, different types of furniture come into play because it's just what is chic or in vogue, right? So that's what staging is really about. It's really about making your house look as if it's totally relevant today with all of the furniture and fixtures, right?
it seems like the houses that are staged sell for so much more. And then sometimes rooms, I always get this, rooms look small, but they're not. They're actually a good sized room, a decent sized room. And a lot
Need
of
to be decluttered.
yeah, or if it's empty, people go, "Oh, it looks like it's small, but it really isn't." So it
Ah, okay.
a vision of how you can situate your furniture, and it just makes it just creates more of the vision
Yeah,
of a
that
house.
makes sense. That makes total sense to me. Yeah, and again, the whole point is to allow you, their agent, to maximize getting the highest purchase price that they possibly can. Selling price in your case, but purchasing price for the buyer, so that they could squeeze out the most for you. Right? Cool. So, how do people get a hold of you?
So my number is 415-756-4418. But I do highly recommend if it's something that you're thinking about doing, always get pre-approved first so we know what the numbers look like. Because at that point, once you get pre-approved, then we can see basically how much you could qualify for given the amount that if we do an estimate of your property, then we can kind of look at the bigger picture and figure out how to plan, because then that also determines what purchase price you get.
That's true. Look, I've always said, don't drive a car with your eyes closed. This is kind of the same thing. It's an analogy, obviously, but you want to get pre-approved only because you don't want to get emotionally. Um, you don't want to fail emotionally, right, and financially. You don't want to go into a transaction and then you realize later that you don't qualify because you didn't do your due diligence up front. Know your numbers and then go buy. It's just that simple. What's a good email address for you?
My first initial last name, fnikchehi @gmail.com. And how about you, Ed? I mean, what's your contact number if someone wants to get pre-approved or?
Me is easy. Just simple Ed. I like to keep everything to one syllable. So Ed at kunoadvisors.com, Kuno with a Kuno. Yeah, and look, we're here to actually answer any kind of questions. Even if you decide, let's just say you decide that you don't like my cologne or whatever, and you want to go with a different lender, that's totally okay. We're here because we're in what's called the long game. We're here for a long time. We've been in the game for a long time, and we want to just be a resource. Hence these videos. We want to be a resource to you so that we can answer any kind of questions and even give you a strategy. It doesn't cost you a single penny. It's actually on us. It's our time. It's our resources. We want to do that because we know that the more we put this out into the universe, the more we get back, and we like to create win-win-win situations. So on that note, thank you again so much, and I will chat with you next week where we'll be coming up with another secret topic. You guys have a great day. Take care.